I am
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
so excited to have you guys back. Uh,
Yeah, I know, us too.
it's been so long, man. Man,
It has.
where have you guys been? We've needed sick puppies for the last however long. Where have you guys been? I know
I
you guys,
know.
but man, what's the last however long many years looked like for you guys?
Well, yeah, I guess I know that's the big question, isn't it? It's been so long, and usually bands don't take this long to release the next album. But it was just a succession of things. It was just like, the first thing was that we didn't have a label, and we wanted to find a home via a label at that
Okay.
point when we were writing and stuff. So we sort of, like that was all kind of into, happening at the same time while we were writing and stuff like that. And we didn't really quite find the right one at that time. And then the pandemic happened. So that took way more time than we thought. And it was very uncertain as well. Just everything was up in the air and it was a weird, like, no one really knew. I mean, people that, entertainment industry musicians, it was like hard hitting for, people like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's on the work front, I guess, in terms of music and where we were going to go. So that took up, not just a year, that's a couple of years,
Yeah.
and we finally found a home with a label, and I don't know, that's just a lot of other stuff in between. That's like that just life, I guess. But we're here, and we can't believe it, and we're excited.
Oh man, if you're excited, man, we're so excited to have you guys back. And what's funny is like I was thinking one day, man, it's been a while since I've heard anything from Sick Puppies, man. What's going on? And then like
Yeah.
2 weeks later,
Oh
singles,
yeah.
new
Oh
music.
nice.
I'm like, oh man, I spoke that into existence almost. But like
Yeah, yeah.
new singles, and they're two very different singles.
Yes, they are.
Going places, man, is so different than what any of us are used to hearing from you guys. And man, you go crazy on that with that bass on that song. How much fun was that song for you?
It was weird, because usually, and I've said this before, usually we're pretty like with riffs and with the music side of things, we're very like I don't know, would like to keep it tight. And this particular song, in my opinion, with the bass at least, for sure, it's quite loose. And it was that way because it was kind of written like we didn't have anything when we came in that day, I think, and we just sort of were sitting around. And I think we would have taken a break, or we weren't sure what to do. And that kind of just came about almost for fun. And I find that like when that happens, that's when the good stuff comes sometimes. So I was just like, messing around. I was like, okay, something like this. And it just ended up being what it was, I guess. So yeah, it was fun in that way. But also with my wanting it to be tight, it's like, but sometimes you just capture it in that first go. So
Yeah, lyrically though, it has that attitude, that fuck you attitude that Sick Puppies is just so good at having, man. Lyrically and thematically, like it's right in line with what we might expect. Just musically, it's just it has that like we just plugged in and started having fun feel and vibe about it. It's got that little bit of funky, groovy vibe to it with the way the music goes. It's a fun song. Like I love it. Took a few listens, but I'm falling in love with it. Really liking it. But man, then there goes the neighborhood. Like that one just kicks you in the gut, just like rocks you like you wouldn't believe. Talk a little bit about just the differences between the two singles for you guys and how you guys, for one, how it feels to be back and have new music finally out to the fans. Because, man, we're so appreciative to have you back. But how does it feel for you guys? What do these songs mean to you?
yeah, I mean the same thing. It feels unbelievable and amazing at the same time as kind of daunting because it was such a long time too that we didn't want to come out with something like because we realized going places is very different and it's a little bit of a departure. Not really lyrically, it is very in line with what the band is, but musically it is kind of it's a little. A little different. So there goes the neighbor. We had that song. There goes the neighborhood for maybe kind of like first. That was in our first batch of songs. So it made sense to release that one first, just as like, okay, we're releasing stuff now. We don't want to freak anyone out by releasing something completely left of center. So this is kind of like, this is like our vibe. And so that was first up, which was cool. And then going places second was just like, okay, well, this album is sort of, a mixture of a bunch of stuff, like we always do. I think that maybe over the years we've had the luxury of being able to get away with kind of differing, not genres really, but just like dynamics in the album. Like we can do something super heavy and maybe do something kind of pop as well.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the same on this album. So
Okay.
like it took a while for us to even happen upon that and get to that point, because I think we hit the ground running with Fury so fast that like in 2016, that we were like, okay, so what do we want to do now, like afterwards, after the touring cycle, and like do we want to explore like writing and what we can do, and we might have just taken a little bit of a long time to do that, because we kind of ventured out pretty fast stylistically, and then we were like, I don't think that's it. We were just sort of just exploring. So that also took a bunch of time, but then we sort of found our level, and that is this album.
Nice. Like every record has had that one song that is a little bit different than the others. Stick to Your Guns. Honestly, when you guys released that one, that had a little bit different sound and
Yeah,
style than we were used to. Gunfight on Connect was also a little bit different than fans might have been used to.
true. Yeah,
How,
that's true.
yeah, what is it that makes it so important for you guys to really switch it up with a couple songs here and there? Because that's one thing I've always loved about your guys' music is there's all those little hidden gems on your guys' albums, even within a couple songs that just kind of keep you on your toes.
Right, right. Well, I guess what are you saying? Like what's with that, or what do you mean?
Or what is it that's so important to you guys to keep things fresh from time to time on
Hmm.
each album and not have every song sound the same, but each record has had a song that's kind of stands apart and feels different than the rest.
That's true. I don't know if it's like whether we set out to do that. I think it's just like in the writing process, we sort of have that in us anyway. So we're like, why don't we just try this? Because we all like different kind of stuff. Like it's all in our genre, but some of us like, there's some pop stuff in there. There's a really heavy stuff in there as well. So I think naturally that song comes out, and then the question is, okay, is this the band? Like, I mean, I guess it is, since it came out of us, but at the same time, we look at it, the album as a whole, and go, does it belong? So it,
Right.
it it maybe just came down to the decision of that, like, does this song kind of go? But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it is important for us to do that because, like I was saying before, like now, because we've had a few albums of sort of like reaching a little into the pop era or like super heavy, we can now go there if we want to now, and span that what do you call it? Whatever that is.
I know what you mean. Like
You know what I mean?
yeah, it kind of opens the door for, especially when fans are so accepting of it, to know like our horizons can be our boundaries can be
Yeah.
switched, and we're not
Yeah.
alienating our fans by it because like
Right.
we are obviously everything you do, you're writing just for yourselves, but when the fans accept it as well as they have with Going Places or other songs, like okay, well we can go
Yeah.
we can go
Yeah.
there, we can push it and not have to worry about like it
Right.
works.
Yeah.
Looking back, like when Fury released, it was a very different time for the band. Obviously, Brian was coming in, and it's hard to believe that's been 8 years since that released, and then he came in, and now here we are, another record, really, a new album coming out with Wave the Bowl, and it's different, but also coming out of a lot of different tough times, and it seems like this record and the last one have come out in times of whether it's for the band or socially, like it's not there's tough stuff. Um, I
Yeah.
feel that really does that kind of drive you guys to really succeed more with like the record itself. Like Brian's coming in. we've really got to, this record's got to kick ass because we've got to make a statement here. Now here we are, Wave the Bull. We're coming out of a pandemic for you guys. The first time we've heard you guys since. Does it kind of drive you guys a little bit more to have it make an impact and have it be successful for you guys?
Definitely, yeah. I think different reasons for both times. The first
Yeah,
time was just like proving to ourselves and also everyone else that we could do this, you know. It's not easy and it's not ideal, and a lot of people, you know, didn't like it. But it
I
was
love
something that we had to do. I'm glad. Yeah, thank
it.
you. Yeah, it was hard because you know, you're up against a lot of backlash and crap and stuff, and you have to sort of go, well, you know, yeah, I get it, but this is what we have to do, and this is what we're going to do, because this is, you know, worked so hard to like get to a point where we can do this, you know what I mean? So it's like, why not just keep doing it? And
Right.
so the second time around, I think the pandemic had a big thing to do, and I think a lot of musicians can relate that, depending on, I guess, where you were at or what band you were. A lot of bands didn't survive it, the pandemic, and it gives you like a renewed sense of like appreciation for what you do and how it affects people, and the fact that you can't, like going back to before, the fact that you can do that. And I think we always come back to the fact that we're so lucky to be able to do what we do, because, you know, yeah, not a lot of people, not many people can, you know, a lot of people set out, a lot of musicians set out to do stuff, and it's just that you know, you get lucky, and I guess we count ourselves very lucky to be able to keep doing it and releasing this album as well. So in releasing it, there's this huge like relief and like and you know, a sense of gratitude that it's happening. So yeah,
Yes.
it for sure.
Did I read it right? This is a concept album?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a concept album like Black Parade or American Idiot or anything like that, but it is definitely the way we thought about it because of where it came from and how it came about. Everything was everywhere. We're like, why is everything everywhere? And then we sort of started to think about it, and then we thought about the name Wave the Ball and what that meant to us. And Wave the Ball basically means just bringing on adversity, because like you were talking about, you know, whether it's the pandemic or live stuff or band stuff, everyone has their shit that they have to deal with. And it was just sort of like a, you know, everyone's afraid. There's no like, you know, yes, you can do it. You can say no fear and everything like that, but really it's just you're afraid, but you do it anyway. And yeah, that's what that meant to us. And then we thought, okay, so we have these bunch of songs that are very different. How did this come about? And we sort of went through each song, and the concept, I guess, is um three themes, I guess, or three like like the timeline of how things go. And there's the fight, and then sorry, there's the omen, the fight, and the aftermath. And all the songs go into each category. And I guess it's just, yeah, like the omen is just the dark ominous stuff that is the foreshadowing stuff that you know is coming. The fight is, you know, self-explanatory. You're in it, you're battered and bruised, and you're panicking. And the aftermath is also self-explanatory. It's the aftermath, and it's the looking back on things, and I guess just absorbing and processing everything.
Oh my, I want to hear the album now. Holy shit, that sounds awesome. I fucking love that.
That's
Yes.
cool. I'm glad you
Oh
like it.
man. Yes. W- Compared to Fury, because there are two different times for the band, what do you think Wave the Bull says about where the band is right now and what you guys have come out of following the release of Fury over the last however many years it is for you guys? Because even though Fury released 8 years ago, you guys were on the road for a few years after it released. I mean, I saw you guys with Skillet twice on that album cycle.
Right.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, like you guys were on the road for a while. So even though it's been eight
yeah.
years since the release, it's probably been more like 5 or 6 years since
Right.
we even heard you guys. Like, what does Wave the Ball say about the band in your eyes for where you are at right now going into the record release?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's true. It's true. Yeah, it was released in 2016, but yeah, we did a few years of touring, and I think that's the I think that's it. It's just like we were so like, oh my God, we have to record music. And once we found Brian, we were like, oh, it was just like, there was no thinking, there was no processing. It was just go and do it and do it. It was almost like a response to do that. And I
Yeah.
think the album kind of reflected that. It was very much just a single theme. There are a couple of different things in there, but it was very much just furiously going ahead. And touring was the same way. And I think after that was when we were able to at least like take a breath and go, okay, so what are we going to do now? What do we want to do? And I think and that's probably when all that, just life, pandemic, and all that happened. And I think and then the difficulty of being able to, because we've been saying, oh, we have new music, which we had, but there were just things that it just wasn't the right time. It just, things got in
Yeah.
the way. So I think it's probably most probably safe to say that Wave the Bull is the product of that to me.
Do you feel like the extra, like the forced time off during the pandemic? Because like you said, you were after Fury and you were done with the touring cycle, you're like, we got to figure some things out. Do you think that that forced time off helped in being able to figure that out, or do you think it hurt as far or a little bit of both maybe because it hurt all of us not being
Yeah.
able to have this release that honestly nobody thought was ever going to go away ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all
Right.
like, yeah, it's
Right.
always going to be here. Like, but do you think part of it helped being able to having to take your time a little bit
I
longer with?
think yeah, in the context of us as a band, obviously there's so much other stuff that was happening with everyone else in the world and their families and everything. But because I never want to say, oh, it was a good thing or anything like that, because it wasn't. But for
Right.
us, I think it was forced time off, which in turn, I think turned out to be a good thing for us, because we were going for so many years. And I think that we would have never taken a break if it wasn't forced upon us, and it was, and we didn't like it. We were resisting it every step of the way, and I think that's what made it really hard.
Yeah.
But it was, now looking back, I'm like, okay, well, if it's good that we had that, because we have and we have had a bit of a rest, and just a new perspective too on just doing what we do.
Was it throughout the last few years, like a lot of times when bands are writing and stuff, we'll see them pop up. You're like, hey, you guys went dark. Like you guys were silent the whole time. Was it hard?
Yeah.
Was it hard to kind of just stay quiet and stay just dark and
This,
was it tough?
uh,
Like, is
yeah, you're right.
I
We did go dark. It
did.
wasn't necessarily a conscious effort. It was just where we
Okay.
were at. We just
Okay.
weren't ready, and we weren't in a place to, we had every intention every step of the way. I just wanted to, because I know a lot of, we were like, oh, we've got new music and everything, and people were like, that was years ago. True. That is very true. But things happen, things get in the way. It
Right.
wasn't an intentional thing. We were just sort of focusing on other parts of our life, and also just
Right.
label, and how, yeah, it was very much a break, like a
Yeah.
hiatus kind of thing.
Well, when it comes to new music and trying to find a label, especially finding a label home, like in this world now, like if you rush before everything's set in place and really
Mm,
1000% ready to go, like
yeah.
it can derail and ruin the entire album cycle or more. So I mean, honestly, like I'm glad you guys took your time. I'm glad you guys did it the way you did because I feel like, obviously Fury was a very important album and it was the album that I think fans needed from you guys at the time. And I think it's probably the album you guys needed at the time. It really made a hell of a statement, but Wave the Bull is the follow-up. And like you really have to continue to raise the bar when an album is as good as Fury was. So, I mean, I feel like Wave the Bull is a really important album, if not more important than Fury was.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, no, you're really right about that. It was something that we were very determined to do with Fury. And I think now it's just, as a band, like, because that was just when Brian joined. It's very fresh, very early. we were still getting to know each other, getting to know our writing, getting to know how this was going to go. You know what I mean? Like you just never
Yeah.
know. So, yeah, this time around, I think it's just a little bit more seasoned, a little bit more familiar, and yeah, it feels right.
Is there like when you talk about the three different parts of Way the Ball, the fight, the omen, the aftermath, is there any one of the three parts that you are more partial to, that you relate to more than the others? Or is there a chapter of it that you're really hoping fans gravitate towards? Because when I hear the omen, I get really, really, really excited. Like I love the dark side of life.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
enjoy chaos and I like to watch the world burn. So for me, when I hear the omen, I'm in.
yeah.
What are you,
Right, right.
what part are you the most excited about? Because you've heard the whole thing. I've heard two songs.
I think I'm a little bit like you on that one. I really enjoy um, because I think for me, playing live is like a catharsis in an aggressive way because, you know, I mean, just a little bit of when I was a kid, I wasn't I view like my instrument as my voice kind of thing because when I was a kid, I moved around a lot and there was a language barrier because I lived in Japan and I lived in Malaysia and stuff like that. There was a language barrier. There was a lot of times I couldn't use my voice kind of thing. Like, and it was hard because you're using a different language and you can't communicate, that kind of thing. So it was all a beautiful kind of like a meant to be situation where I could do that through my instrument. And so playing live for me is, I think a lot of people that go to shows, when I go to a show and I see a band and they're like really in it, like
Yeah.
that's the energy transformation that I need too as an audience member slash fan, but also as a musician and an artist, when you're up there too, it's the same thing. You need it just as much as they do, if not more. And I think that I relate to that aspect that you were talking about. I like the dark side of things too, and I like that, the more we talk about the dark things, maybe they won't be so dark anymore. And I love catharsis and I love being able to get it out. I love the flow state, and I feel like dark, aggressive music does that.
Yes. You talked about playing live in the concert itself being such a cathartic, almost like therapeutic
Mm.
experience for a
Hmm.
lot of us. What do you miss most about the live stage? What are you excited about getting out there and doing this live again? What are you excited about the most? For me, it's like that split millisecond of silence between the lights going down and the intro music hitting and the crowd just
Hmm. Yeah,
realizing this is about to happen. Um,
right. Yeah.
like that's one of my favorite parts, but like what are you looking forward to the most about getting back there in front of the fans and bringing the Sick Puppies classics along with the new stuff? What are you pumped about?
I think kind of just what we were talking about, really, like, because just the transformation of being able to, because it is like a therapy, it's just going there and it's like feeling it, and you're seeing them, feeling them feel it, and you're feeling it, and it's just such a healing experience when people, like, we're so lucky to be able to be on stage and do what we do, and people come to shows to escape shit and, like, heal and release and have fun, and or take out aggression, not in a bad way, but like just release stuff. And I think I miss being able to do that, because a lot of our music is aggressive and heavy, and it is sort of like punky and fun as well at times, but just being able to have that emotional, like, release. Yeah.
Yes. That connection, like as a concert photographer, I'm standing between you and the fans, and like that moment when the fans are singing at the top of their lungs the lyrics back to the band while they're singing them. It's just
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
connection between the two.
Yeah.
It's magic, man.
Yeah.
I love that feeling. And you can't describe it until you're feeling it in the moment.
Yeah.
Uh, Speaking of crazy fans, you guys are hitting the festival circuit next year, which, oh man, Sonic Temple. I don't know what other festivals you guys are doing next year, but just like the festival scene to begin with is a completely different atmosphere than like a club show at like Pierre's in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
which that's another
true.
good fucking God, that place. But man, the festivals, man, you guys have got to be excited about hitting those festivals again because those are just straight up parties from 11 a.m. to midnight.
True that. I don't know how people do it. How they get there like so early and they're in the sun and they're drinking and it's just like, uh, just make sure you stay hydrated.
Yes. They get crazy.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to about next year? Because next year, I mean, it's already started with going places and there goes the neighborhood, but
Yep.
it really gets started next year with Wave the Bull releasing. What are you looking forward to about 2025?
Just first of all, yeah, being able to release that album finally. And then also, like you said, festivals. I think that's one of my favorite things too. Festivals. The energy is something that's unmatched. Like you can do club shows and arenas and whatnot, but nothing beats that festival energy in the crowd. And I think also for bands too, a lot of the time you don't get a sound check. You have to just, throw and go, depending on your situation. So that's part of the oh God, is everything going to go okay kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like that excitement slash anxiety.
It's
And then you
terrifying.
have it is terrifying sometimes. But it's great because that's just how it is, and that's the energy exchange, and then people have been waiting there for, like you said, depending on when we play, like 11 in the morning till 9 at night or whatever. And yeah, the energy is different for sure.
I can't wait. Man, Emma, if Wave the Bull is anything, if these two singles are any indicator of what's coming our way in early next year, man, it is so good to have you guys back.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you
Oh,
for
for sure.
coming back and making your return and giving us new Sick Puppies music. I've been a fan since Dressed Up as Life.
Nice.
So happy to have you
That's
guys.
cool. That's
Um,
awesome. Thank you so much. That means a lot.